April meeting of the Guild. Want to thank you for coming out. I think we've got an outstanding program tonight. I promise you from an experience that I've had that it will be well worthwhile. It'll be very interesting. Do we have any new members or visitors with us tonight? Yes, sir. If you wouldn't mind standing up, tell us who you are and a little something about you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Husky. I'm trying to get back into woodworking after not doing it for a while. So right now I'm still working on making shop furniture for my small shop. Anyway, it's first time. I mean, I think I've been here once or twice before. So today I decided to try to come here and actually sign up and become a member.
Where's home?
Austin, Texas originally, but we've been in Norfolk now for 20 years, so we plan on staying. So.
Okay, well, Brian.
Hear about it. I've been coming to Woodcraft for years.
Okay, Brian, you're welcome. I think you will find that this is a very knowledgeable group that's here. All different levels of expertise with everything. So you've got a good resource here. Okay, thank you for joining. Okay, anyone else?
I think you're being invaded by Texans because I'm from Dallas. Patrick Travers, Charles Parker's brother-in-law.
Okay.
He brought me here tonight, and I've got a small business with lasering and printing and getting involved with including wood as well as acrylics and glass, and so trying to pick up tips and tricks and ideas.
Well, welcome. You will find that lasers and CNC has been a popular item with us. So you'll find that Terry and Bob has got a lot of expertise in that. Okay, but okay. Well, welcome. Okay, anyone else? All right. I'd like to go ahead and start with just a couple of committee reports. Chris, membership, about where do we stand right now?
And so the guild has a report that today had $832.07 in checking and $4,183.02 in savings. We got 250 going out tonight for the website, and then we got 8 new individuals membership that paid tonight. So
okay.
Overall, pretty good.
So we're moving up. There's one thing that we're talking about, and we're going to be sending something out. We have about 115 people that receive the email weekly, and also when Gary sends out something about the newsletter. What we're going to do is we're going to send information out and have options for people that either cannot come or if they would just rather be watching it virtually, but they would still like to join. So we're going to send something out and have some other mechanisms for people to join if they're not physically here. I'm going to go ahead and move into new business so we can get this thing moving. You remember 2 months ago I had Pat Scanlon in here talking about the Chimney Swift Tower project. Well, it's moving, but it's moving extremely slowly. We had probably about 10 people that volunteered that would be willing to help us build these towers and install those over in Portsmouth. The problem with this is the materials are very difficult to find. The person that is actually he's actually paying for it, is Steve Living from the Department of Wildlife Resources. So we don't even have to pay for anything other than just volunteering our labor. We have the plans for it. We decided to go ahead and go with the recommended plans that have been tried and produced over 200 of these towers at different places around the country. And for those of you that are new, these are actually artificial chimneys that are being built around different places in the country that because of the habitat for nesting for chimney swallows is disappearing. These artificial ones are being made to keep them coming back and keep them alive. The materials, a lot of the materials that they're talking about, and one in particular is a hardy plank. And they're talking about a hardy soffit that's 2 feet wide and 8 feet long that would make up the sides. The siding of these chimneys could be either 8 or 12 feet tall. They have to have a smooth surface so that varmints, whatever, cannot get up into the chimney. They've given 2 different options. They said that's the best one, but we can't find it. I've been to both Home Depot and Lowe's myself. You can find a 4 foot by 8 foot by a 1/4 inch thick hardy board or hardy plank sheet, whatever you want to call it, but you'd have to cut it. The other option that we could do, and I'm waiting on a response back from Steve, is putting on siding. If you make it out of siding, again, that's something that would keep things from being able to crawl up.
What's the issue with cutting? Is it hard? I mean,
No, I'm just saying that you would have to cut it into in half in 2 foot lengths, and it's a hardy plank. But you cannot find it in a 2 foot wide piece because it's a soffit. That's the problem.
But you can find.
You can find.
You can find a full bay. I mean, hell, we can split that thing right down the middle, right there.
Well, what I can do, was not going to commit to Steve that we're going to cut that for him, but I will get back with him as soon as we find out about that. I can tell him that yes, we can do that. The other thing that was sort of a questionable thing is how to mount it. What they recommend are it's angled steel that would make 4 posts or 4 legs, but then that has to be set in concrete, and then the chimney sits on top of that and is bolted to it. Another way is if you use 4x4s that are treated for ground contact, you could put 4 of those in. To me, that would go a lot faster than having to set up a form, put the post in, and then bringing the thing back after a few days. We could maybe knock it out at one fell swoop. So I'm going to ask him if that would be acceptable. We have not established a date for constructing this, and I know, Pat, you had offered your shop. We need to get all of these materials together somehow, but once we get them so that they're together and delivered, then we can set up a time when we can come together and produce it. So I will keep you posted on it. I think this is going to be a really good project for the Guild. It will take a little bit of time. They say it's not a real fast thing, but it's something that we do. One other thing that we have not been able to find yet, you have to use T111 for the inside. But the horizontal line, the lines need to go across, or the grooves need to go horizontally for the birds to be able to actually build a nest. And it has to be 4 inches on center instead of 8 inches. And that's so you can get enough birds in there. I have yet to find one that's got 4 inch, grooves on it instead of the 8 inch. So if anyone has any suggestions on where you could find it, like I said, I've been to 1 Home Depot and 1 Lowe's, and I have yet to find anything other than 8 inch on center.
You just route a groove at 4 inches between the eggs.
If push came to shove, we would have to set up something just route it and make it.
We're gonna cut them other pieces in half. We can set up and put a groove in it.
Yep. Again, this is something that if you had the other one, it would go much faster because all you have to do is just cut it into 4 foot lengths and then 2 foot wide and all that. But the plans are extremely elaborate, and I put that out before. I printed a copy of this, and it goes step by step. I mean, very detailed as to what you have to do with each part. But I just wanted to update you on that particular project. As soon as we hear more from Steve, I will get back with everyone and we'll go ahead and get us started on that project. So I just wanted to update. Yes?
I'll be over in Suffolk area on Thursday. I'll go by the 84 lumber.
Okay.
Over there and see what they have for
Okay.
11.
Well, we can see if we can't do it. If we can't do that, go to Plan B, just like what you're saying,
Sure.
both with the hardy plank and that.
If he can get the material,
We
wherever
could,
he is, just give me a call, and I got a little trailer, I'll come over and I'll pick this stuff up.
he's planning on getting all of the materials and having it together and just bringing it to us.
Well, that's fine
So
too, but instead of mine to getting it,
Okay.
I will go get it.
Okay, but you don't mind still committing to your
Hell no.
workshop? Okay, perfect.
It's messy, but it's,
Hey, it'll be messier when we get through. Yes,
I
Bob?
found some stuff at Kempsville Building Materials.
Okay,
Home Depot
that's-
and Lowe's did that.
That's over in, where's, Kempsville now, is that
Yeah,
Norfolk,
just,
Portsmouth?
Get off 13, maybe go Portsmouth.
Okay.
It's not that far.
Okay,
South Military Highway. way
okay, way down there. Okay, well, maybe we can start looking, but if any of you run across it, email me, and you got your email from all of my notes and all of that. Okay, just wanted to keep moving on here. Some community things, several things have come up about attending festivals. And I think the Turners may have gone to one this past weekend. I believe there was one over in Franklin. And they go and demonstrate, and they also have it so you can sell items. Just wanted to see if you would be interested in anything like that. And Gary found, what is the name of that one that's coming up in the fall?
State Park. Yeah.
That's coming up in the fall?
Yes.
If we are interested in doing something like that, people participating, whether you're doing a demonstration, I think it would be something different if you pay. If you're just demonstrating, it's one thing, but if you're selling, is it a different price that you have to pay to? Something like that. But without that particular one.
It's different. Right.
Each one.
Group. Some of them will let them sell without any additional.
Okay. Well, I wanted to, and the board wanted to survey, would you be interested in having something like that? It'd be sort of a follow-up that what the Turners are doing. Would you be interested in it? Yes, maybe.
I would, yeah.
Okay, so a little bit of interest. You wouldn't have to do it, but if anybody's interested, we'll keep pursuing that and see what else is available. So we'll keep that posted.
That's a very nice venue over there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's all kinds of old farm equipment and machinery and it's all kinds of.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah, I've been over there.
Okay, great. Well, what we'll do is keep everybody posted on that. Okay. Just to let you know, I've been asking for the last 2 or 3 months for volunteers for different committees and things like that. I actually had a person to volunteer to handle the raffles, but he couldn't make it tonight. So I'm going to continue to ask for volunteers to help with different things. I think Chris has offered to help with the raffle part over here. We've got a 50-50, and then there's some other things that people have brought in that will bring a little bit of money, and we aren't trying to make a whole lot of money off of that, but they'll be over at the table. You can see that during the break. Guild merchandise. Jim, you want to show some of your wares here? I'm wearing one of them, but no pun intended.
Yeah, that's the only example. We deal with Queensboro out of North Carolina, and they embroider ball caps, denim shirts, polo shirts, and whatnot. So anyway, I've got a board to pass around. We have, Terry's got. He's got
an ugly model.
But anyway, so we've got 4 different logos that you can pick from. And the first 2 are more or less the classic styles that we've got. And then this one over here, Carl Bogot developed. And then this is another one. So anyway, what I've got on this board is a polo shirt, a ball cap, denim shirt, short sleeve shirt, and also the ladies version of those. So if you want to take a look, and if there's anything that you'd like to order, go ahead and put the information on the last sheet here, and I'll take cash or check after the material comes, and I'll bring it to the meeting. And it's like the woodcraft store, you gotta wait for the sale. And so it may not happen next month, but I will monitor the sales and make the appropriate purchases. Because I looked at the 2019 prices, and you'll see that on a couple of brochures, and they've gone up about $6 to $8, since 2019. And so it's important to wait for the sales. But anyway, take a look at this and see if there's anything you like, and And like I said, sign up on the last sheet. And I'm asking for your name and phone number, just in case I've got any questions, what the item is, and there's a style number for each one of the items, so you can write that down, the size, the color, what logo you want on it, and how many. And for the ladies that were in the group last month, I've got the ladies version also. So, anyway, we'll start here with Paul.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. And Jim volunteers to do this, so thank you very much for volunteering to handle that, Jim.
Okay.
Okay,
Do they have a solo version of the emblem that you could put on other pieces of clothing that you?
No, they don't. In fact, they're pretty protective about their, about the design in that. But I think Jerry might have an electronic version of our latest logo that, anyway, Ron, if you wanna talk to Gary, that'd be good.
okay. All right. Newsletter update, do you have anything, Gary?
Nothing, the last one was just published, so.
Okay, and again, we continue to ask for any projects that you have, anything that you have that would be beneficial to be added to it. Gary would certainly appreciate that.
Still looking for somebody that like to highlight their shop.
Volunteers? That means you have to clean it up. Okay, well, we'll see if we can get someone to do that. Okay, we just met as a board just a little bit before the meeting. We are going to be printing several of the brochures. I think about 50 to start with, and putting these around at various places. They're not cheap. There's $1.80 or 70 some cents a piece just to print these out. So it's really expensive. So if any of you know of a cheaper way of printing it, Gary's done a lot of research here. But we're going to put these. We're going to be selective with where we put these to advertise the guild. But Gary spent right much time developing this and actually pricing it out with various different printers. So we'll have some of these in the very near future that we can have. That's just for your information. Future meetings. I want to just go ahead and jump to this. Greg has been talking about going out to Cygnus out in Pungo just to see the lumber out there and talk to the owner. And there are two options. Greg was actually saying maybe in lieu of a meeting here, have a field trip, possibly going there, or having him come in here and talk to us. But or we could have him come in and talk, and then maybe at a separate time other than a meeting time, just see who's interested in going out there as a group. So what?
What's the name of the place?
It's Cygnus.
Cygnus Lumber and Building.
It's out in Pungo.
He's out in Pungo, way out off of Fawn Road, I think it is.
He's right next to the aviation museum out there.
Okay.
To me, if we choose to go out there, I have a two-seater pickup truck, plus a playroom in the back of it. People still like to ride like a kid in the back of the truck. I'm joking only, but I'm more than willing to say we all gather here and then we carpool out there for those that live further away, like Chris that lives right down the street from me.
You mean, hey, it's 36 minutes from here. Yes, 15 or 21 miles.
That's with no traffic.
Yeah. When is that, midnight?
36
yeah.
to 40 minutes.
That's the
I'm
correct
more glad to, let some people ride with me.
Okay.
Come see that.
If you've never been down there, it's quite a shock. I mean, it's the first one with 440 volts in it.
Pretty impressive.
He's making it bigger too, by the way. He's adding on the back.
Okay, well, here's the question. Would you be interested in having that in lieu of a meeting? Or would you rather have just a field trip, maybe on another night and another day, whatever, it could be on a weekend? We'd have to coordinate that. So what is the feeling of the group?
I'd rather see just have a meeting there, go there on your own. For me, it's 15, 20 minutes from the house.
Okay, so if we set something up, just have that in lieu of a meeting. here, okay? All right, and it'll be sort of like a tour,
You know,
a
somebody
field
else
trip,
say something.
okay? Thoughts?
I would like to, before the, have a count, or a rough count, about a week before the meeting, how many people plan on attending, just so I can give him a courtesy heads up. We're expecting 150 members, or that, or how many ever.
This would be
Okay.
a day trip
It
on a
would,
weekday?
it could be, what, would it be best during the week, or could it be a weekend? Like on a
I
Saturday?
don't see why he would object to the weekend, but I don't wanna speak for him. I
Mhm.
will ask him, and I'll put an email out to that effect.
Okay.
I'll send it to Gary, and then he can send it
Yeah.
to all
We'll,
of
we'll,
y'all.
we'll get the word out.
On a Monday night, I mean, with daylight saving time, I mean, still, even up
Yeah.
to 8 o'clock,
Depends on where
8:30,
his
still
hours
got
are.
plenty of light.
Mhm.
I'm saying, there's some people that may not be allowed to be out after dark, so.
Hey, well, my wife doesn't know, it doesn't hurt.
I was
Well, my
talking,
girlfriend
I didn't know
doesn't
I was
know
talking about you,
it.
Gordon. I didn't know I was talking about you.
Well, like I said,
Okay.
my girlfriend doesn't know.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get more information out here, since it seems like there is gonna be a little bit of interest in this, and that might be beneficial for everyone, okay? All right,
Thank you.
all right, thank you, Greg. Okay, tip presentation, I think, yes, sir, Larry. Oh, go ahead, Larry, excuse me.
So we had 120 until 3 people, I think, signed up tonight, so as far as I know, we have 123 people actively right now on our roster. So for membership, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that's how many have paid this year and attended to.
36.
We're up to 36 now? Okay. Somebody named Patrick Travers signed up today. Yeah, could you fill that out for us?
Okay.
So I don't know Ryan Evans, but here, you have a membership card and bring it in.
I don't.
Yeah, take care of you.
Thank
Larry Gatewood. Is he here? Gatewood's not here, right? I don't share that here. And then, Patrick again. Yeah. All right, temporary. Oh, yeah. And then, is there a Justin Dahlmeyer here? Temporary. I don't think I gave you a permit.
No, I have the same one. I have two now. Put it next to the
Keep them both, man.
Bring a
They're
friend.
they're really valuable.
I'll bring one.
Especially the temporary ones. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Larry, for an update. As you can see, we're finally coming back from COVID, and hopefully we will stay this way. And the future looks bright for us. Okay, now a tip presentation. Jim, I think you said you had a tip. And for those of you that are new, we decided to start having something at each one of the meetings that one of the members would volunteer, and I'm going to ask for volunteers, to come and give a tip. It could be anything, just a little how-to or whatever. So it's up to each person. So, Jim, it's all yours.
Okay. Thanks, Frank. One of the, everything has a recipe. When you're doing a carving, there's a specific recipe that describes the process and the tools and whatnot. If you build a piece of furniture, there's a recipe, and it all ends up, it seems like, after you've planed your material and whatnot, you got to get rid of real much, snipe and chatter and things like that. And the two things that are generally recommended is using a hand plane or a scraper. And then once you do that, then you go ahead and sand up to about 180 grit, and then you can do your finishing. Anyway, scrapers are just invaluable, but I struggle, especially in working on chairs and table legs and things like that, and that, I would just, it takes a long time. But anyway, I happened to be looking at Chris Swartz's website, Lost Art Press, and he was advertising this new shaped scraper. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, that might be just all right. And so when I say a typical card scraper, it's, this rectangular piece. And so what he's advertising is a shape that's like this. And I said, well, I'll just take one of my scrapers and do it. And what a difference maker.
Does it come sharpened?
The one, the Chris Schwartz, and you can get them on Lee Valley too.
Yeah.
They come prepared except for turning the burr. Okay.
Except for what?
Turning the burr
Oh, yeah.
on the card scraper. But the nice thing about this thing is with the curved surface, you don't have to bend your card scraper. And immediately you can get something like that. So you can, because you have a smaller amount of scraper against the wood, you got more force against the wood, and you can better engage the burr to turn the shaving. And then if you've got a particular problem area, you can use the corners just to get that little bit out and take care of that mill mark. So just a tremendous, neat little tool. And like I said, you can make it out of all you're looking for. The only criteria is a nice, easy curve on the scraper, and then a radius corners, and then this is flat on this end. So you can use all four edges, both coming and going, to do your scraping. So anyway, if you want to try this during the break, I'll put this piece of wormy pecan in the vise and you can see how it works. But for me, it has made the process of removing mill marks tremendously faster. And so I can get through that and start the finishing process. So anyway, that's the tip for tonight.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Here we go.
Nice find, everybody. Okay, and again, looking for volunteers. If anyone would like to go ahead and volunteer for next month, so everybody raise their hand at the same time. So if you would like to volunteer, you have something that you would like to present, whether it's something that you do every day or something you just come across. Feel free to just see me and I'll add it in for the agenda for next month. And the next thing we got before the break is show and tell. I don't know whether anyone brought anything for show and tell. Yes.
Last month in the meeting, we discussed short discussion about the collection system. And I started out with just the top white part initially, and I had all kinds of problems when I was cleaning and when I was not, fill up quickly. So I decided I needed more. And what I did is I took another pail. The bottom pail is no modifications to it. This pail here, as you can see, the top is down there. What I did is I took the lip and I cut it off. And then at the top where I cut it off, I cut out little V's so that you could stick it down into there and it would stick. And I cut off the bottom here. And of course I took this one that I originally had and I got rid of the bottom so that I can stick it in like that. It's a poor man's collector, and it works.
Jeff Foxworthy would be proud.
Put a little duct tape on it, you got it.
Good job.
Yes, necessity is the mother of invention here. That's what you
Send that into some of the magazines, you can get paid for it.
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Here's my stump to chump for the day. So a friend of mine wanted to smoke bourbon. That sounds really bad. Add a smoky scent to the bourbon. And so a friend of his, redneck friend of his, said, well, we've got, what we do is we take basically an ashtray is what I call it. And they put wood shavings from fruit wood, and they torch it, you know, or burn it, start to burn it, get it smoldering good. And then you put your drink in with a bell on it. So I started looking at it. He said, find me a piece of wood that I can use as that, again, I'll call it the ashtray. And I started looking online just to research it a little bit, and I saw something that looked roughly like this, where a little different concept. You put a sink strainer in it, put your shavings in here, torch it, and there's some holes that go in down here. I just pulled this out of the bin last night and started playing with it, just some paddock wood. And so I still have a little bit to do on it, and I got to make a lid for it. But I started to think, well, what would be the best finish for this? And I thought, well, I've got the Woodworkers Guild tonight, or tomorrow night. I'll ask the folks if anybody has any suggestions for the best finish for something that is potentially going to have a torch pointed at it in its general direction.
And submerged in alcohol.
And it's likely to get some alcohol splashed on it once in a while. It probably won't be submerged, but it.
If you're gonna be smoking, running smoke through it, no finish.
You think just leave it bare?
It'll pick up. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
The best finish is a glass with ice.
Yeah, and tell them not to smoke the bourbon, to drink it instead.
Yeah.
The smoking it is hard to like.
You can't just. All right.
You can't hold it up long enough.
So the closest analogy I thought of was a smoking pipe. So I started going down that path, but I didn't.
Yeah, they call those bongs, and we don't. The glass blowers meeting is next door.
See, you can see two different generations here. Mine for the glass, his for the bomb.
Yep. All right, thanks. I thought it was kind of a curious little, like, fun kind of novelty to smoke your own, give the smoky scent for the bourbon.
Yeah.
Thank you. And as you can see, we always come up with some very unique items. So there's some good tips. So volunteers, again, you've seen some suggestions right here. You can come and offer a tip for maybe the next meeting. Okay. Any other show and tell? If not, what we're going to do is we're going to take about a 5-minute break. Let you converse, talk with Jim about if you're interested in any of the apparel. If you wanted to practice, Jim, I think you said you're going to set this up over here if you want to practice for that. But I did repair this, and for those of you that were here several months ago when it flew apart and it was flying, Bob almost got clobbered with it. I glued everything back together, but I'm going to be giving you that signal over here, but I'm doing it down close to the floor just in case. So 5 minutes and be back in here. Okay. Thanks.
Raffle tickets.
Yes, and the raffle tickets right over here. Chris is handling that. Thank you, Brett. Greg, would you like to introduce our presenter for the night?
Man, come on. Gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Paul Garrity here. Paul, if you ever have any logs you need to have milled into lumber, I can't tell you one thing. Paul is the man. He knows how to mill a log into lumber and does a great job at it. Anyhow, I'm gonna turn it over to him and let him do his 2 cents worth, even though I know it's more than that, Paul, but that's all I'm gonna give you credit for right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
all right.
And let me just mention one thing. I had heard about all of his ventures of cutting logs and all of that, and we ended up cutting, Paul cut it and we moved some walnut logs, and those of you that were there, we got some nice looking lumber out of that. And it's quite an experience just observing that and just seeing it and just seeing the process. And believe you me, that wood is, especially when it's 2 inches thick and 8 feet long, it's got some weight to it. It's pretty heavy. But I just enjoyed that. And if you ever have an opportunity to do it, It's well worth the time just to go there and have that experience if you have not done it. So, okay, Paul, I'm done.
Thanks, Before you start, because Paul cut the wood for Gary donated $200 and $250 in the, to the guild for the profits that he made off of cutting what Paul cut.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, thank you.
Well, a lot of these talks are how-to talks, how to do this, that, and the other thing. This isn't gonna be one of those. It's not a how-to, but it's definitely wood-related. It's a little bit of this and that. And I've got lots of show and tell items too, and products that I really like and whatnot. But like I said, it's all wood-related. We were talking already about what I do for a living. I'm a sawyer. I run a portable sawmill business, and I've worked for a lot of you guys, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. But there's some new folks, who might not know. Well, how does this work? The average. I've been doing this for 28 years, and 28 years ago, I realized that the average Joe can't bring logs to the sawmill, so they would get cut up into 16, 18-inch lengths, or they just take them to the landfill and they just get buried, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars just wasted. But so you got to go from point A to point B. If I can get the sawmill to the person's house, then we got a deal, and that's what Fran was talking about. I set up on the side of the road just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month, something like that, to cut these black walnuts. The guy just gave them to us. Just gave them to us. It's like 350 board feet or something like that. That's $3,500 worth of lumber. He didn't really know it. Fran has graciously offered on behalf of the guild to make something for the guy, so he's got a memento. Of course, he loves that idea. But it was just a win-win-win situation, and that's how all these jobs that I do. I say win-win-win. I get to make some money. I got to put. I'm not rich by any means, but I put 2 kids through college. And the people get the lumber for a fraction of what you're going to pay for it. I mean, what were we charging? Like $2 or something like for walnut, which sells at 10. So they do that math, and then we're
15 back here.
Well, yeah, that's even higher.
Go to the Yukon.
Yeah. And I'm saying, we're saving the logs from going to the landfill or just getting burned up and buried. So anyway, it's a win all around. I did make some notes here. It's a sawmilling service. I was listening to some. When I went to college, believe it or not, I went to college for this stuff. I have a degree, a Bachelor of Science in Wood Science and Technology. And there was a class on primary timber conversion. That's basically how to run a sawmill. Primary timber conversion. I just thought that was kind of cute. So, I don't just work for the guild, of course. I work for a lot of individuals, but it can work both ways. If somebody through Fran is donating these logs, and I get calls like this all the time, and I just don't want to see it go to waste. Well, what is it? It's a gum. Sorry, we're not handling that. It's a black walnut. Oh, keep talking. So and most everything is worth it. I will share. I can't remember who I was talking to. I've cut more pine ever since COVID. Do you know why? Mm-hmm. Pine used to be really cheap, not anymore. Everything's gone up. But I get a lot of pine. I call for pine 2x4s or 2x6s. People making sheds or shelters and things like that. So, and lumber prices are all going up, and that's another thing somebody asked me to talk about. I get all these periodicals from the wood products industry. My advice, on that, on the lumber prices, they're going to remain high for a while. If you're waiting for the price to come down, you might as well just do it now. And I gave a similar talk, just when we came back from COVID. You remember? And, I mean, it was crazy high then. And, the update on that, that's keeping the price high are the stump prices. You know, wood is a crop. Lumber, timber, it's a crop. Just like corn, just like beans, like anything else. Only it takes a longer time to bring it to market. And I want to throw that in there in case you have any like environmentalists, you know, in your sphere of influence, maybe in the family or something, that's saying, oh man, the prices are so high because we're running out of trees. 5 trees are planted for every one that's harvested. Okay, it's a crop. You know, we don't want to. It would be stupid to just, you know, take everything, right? So we constantly replant. You know, the prices are not going up because of that. It's more complicated. Although, have anybody seen white oak lately? White oak is $750 a board foot at Yukon. I don't know what it is here. I maybe it's about 7. That is as high as I've ever seen it, and that's almost twice as high as red oak. They're usually kind of neck and neck. White's always a little bit more expensive, but $750. That's a supply and demand thing. That's not like we're not wiping out all the white oaks in the world. But going back to the lumber prices, you know, yeah, don't put it off. Don't wait for prices to decrease, but shop around. Was it you, Pat? We were talking about the cheapest. It's one world of a market, and people are constantly buying all over the place. You know, we were joking that Home Depot and Lowe's used to be a penny apart. Yeah. Not so much anymore. You know, you can get a deal because Lowe's got a real great deal at a time. And if you want to, you know, travel a little bit, go to Saunders Supply, go to the Peninsula, you might find, you know, another big deal. So that's what I wanted to share about that. Any questions, you can always stop and ask me. Anything?
Is it true that Ukraine was the sole source or one of the sole sources for Baltic birch plywood?
Baltic birch came from Russia. Exactly where, if it wasn't Belarus, it could have been Ukraine or it could have been Siberia.
Okay. Also Finland.
Or Finland?
Finland was a big supplier.
Yeah. Just on that note, it should come as no surprise, I wrote, that a bill is being proposed to ban the import of forest products from Russia and Belarus. It's called the No Timber from Tyrants Bill. So there you go. Since speaking of Russia, no timber from tyrants. Last year, I guess it was last year, that amounted to $511 million that we imported from Belarus and Russia. So, since you were asking, there's that. And again, I get all these periodicals and stuff like that. Stump prices, stump prices have gone up. That's payback for COVID giving the sawmills windfall profits.
What do you mean stump price?
Stump prices that's basically the tree. They call it stump, you know, on the stump price. So that's basically the price of the logs.
Okay. Commodity price.
Right. And when COVID drove the prices up and the sawmills were making all this money, the sawmills went to the suppliers of the log and said, you can't raise, because they wanted, hey, let's get a little of that action. You know, these are our logs. They said, no, you signed a contract. We're going to hold you to that contract. So the sawmill, it's a negotiation. It's a relationship kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So the relationship kind of soured there, but those contracts are over now. So now they're renegotiating, and the stump prices have gone to the roof, and the sawmills are just going to use that as another excuse to keep the prices high. That's why I'm saying, you know, don't wait for them to come down, because now you've got another reason to keep the prices high. Before, the prices were higher because you went from 3 shifts down to 1, and all these other prices were going, we're raising everything. So now you got a stump price that's going to go high. That's why I was just passing on these tips about. Don't hold off. More wood products news. I don't have any of the real fun stuff like I did last time, those 100% windows. You remember me talking about that? 100% wood windows? No?
Wood frame.
Yes, but the pane is wood also.
No, the actual pane.
The pane,
Translucent wood.
the frame, everything was 100%. Yeah, I mean, that was the first one from COVID, and there weren't that many people here, so maybe.
Heavy process.
Yeah. That came from
They dissolved the part of the wood that.
Maryland, University of Maryland's working on that or something. And then there was the other thing about, was wood pulp. They're putting wood pulp in, non-fat food products. Yes, in mayonnaise, and some other things. It's an additive. It's tasteless and odorless, and it goes in there and out of it. It's just another one of these. What's that? Yeah, it's a good source of fiber. That's what I want when I'm having mayonnaise, a good source of fiber.
And the benefit is, if it gives you diarrhea, you just get some wood glue, like.
Oh, boy. Yikes. Has anybody heard this abbreviation CRT? This is another big thing that. Oh.
Critical race theory?
Oh my God, that's two. Yeah, no, I meant cross-laminated lumber. Cross-laminated lumber. This is another.
What was the acronym? Where does the T
CR
come in?
Timber.
Oh,
Timber.
oh man, I screwed this up. CR, yeah, CLT. Jesus, I can't even. Cross-laminated timber. They can be up to 8 feet by 18 feet. So 8 feet wide. They're basically 2x8s that are laminated. And they're using these in floors and roofs of commercial buildings. And if you're wondering, well, you know, they're going to burn, they don't burn. They don't burn. They've been classified by USDA as fire resistant, but architects are really, as to right now, they're slow to integrate them into buildings. And
Well, they're using laminated wood products already for choice.
Yeah, on a smaller level.
Yeah,
This is, and these can go up to 18 stories high.
Okay, well, there you go.
And they don't burn.
Wood is actually more stable than steel in a fire. Did you know that?
For a while.
And I think 9/11 showed us that. You know, when everything heat, you know,
Everything burns.
girders in the floor just pushed the walls out of the skyscrapers and they all came down. All right, here's some show and tell stuff. If I've been asked once, I've been asked 1,000 times, have you ever sawed up anything interesting? Have you ever found anything interesting in a tree? And I'm going to go right to my number one thing. It's this. Can anybody tell me what this was?
Bush axe.
A bush axe. Yeah. I'm going to pass this around. Carl, can you see anything in here that looks kind of interesting? I mean, besides the fact that the blade went down here, was a little bit longer. Can you see why I use this as a demonstration? See that little thing right there? You see this little rascal right here? That was just
took out a blade.
It filed all the teeth off of my bandsaw, which here's another thing I was going to pass around. It filed all the teeth off until there was nothing but like a band, and then just pushed it right off the mill.
It was screaming the whole time, wasn't it?
Interesting. Well, now what are you going to ask me about this? What are you going to ask me about this? Huh? Well, yeah, that was.
What did you tear up?
Like I tore up the.
Other than the blade?
No.
Okay.
Why didn't I find it? I thought somebody. Well, why don't you find
How'd
it?
you get it out of the tree?
You know, this was in a This was in a cypress, and it was huge. And it was just like this. It was sticking straight up. If it were sideways and I was going like this, I would have found it. But it was just like this.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Should have done the side of the wall.
It would just pass that around. And along those lines of stuff found in trees, this was a recent thing. Can anybody tell me what this is? Can you see it?
Cable. Oh, yeah, steel cable.
It's not steel, it's copper.
Oh, wow.
Why?
Go around.
You know what this is for? It's lightning protection. They think so highly of their tree that they're nailing these things all up the tree with cable. There's some cable.
Was it ever struck?
Yeah, I don't know.
Must have worked then.
It wasn't struck by me, I'll tell you. It was interesting because I scanned the butt log and I hit something. So, hey, doggone it, there's something in here. Because, trees, as we all know, trees don't push the nail up the tree. They stay at the same height. And then the tree just grows over it, right? So at the butt log, the bottom log, that bad boy was buried way in there. So gee, there's something in there. I said, well, we'll get it out. Hang on, let me see if we got anything else. Beep. And I kept on going, up the tree. It was like every 4 feet, I was getting these beeps. And then I looked at one of the uppers. Daggone, all of these logs had this in it. And those are the ones I cut out. So that's from like the second or third upper. At 12 feet or 16 feet or whatever we did. I don't know.
What do you mean by upper?
There's two kinds of logs. There's the butt log, which is the bottom log. That's your money log. That's the one most likely. Right, no branches.
Yeah.
Every branch is a knot. And then you got uppers. First upper, second upper. Butts and uppers. What else? So here's another little, I'll give this one. See this rascal? You can barely tell what this thing was.
Nut and bolt.
Yeah, it's a nut and bolt. Found it buried in a cedar. And I just shaved that thing.
How many railroad spikes you come into?
I've never cut a railroad spike, but I wouldn't go far in there. I was going to show you this. This is one of my blades. I don't know if you can see this. I'll pass it around. There are little lines right here. A bandsaw, is constantly going around like this and creating little fissures. If you leave it on there long enough, it's 5,000 RPM. So if you leave it on there long enough, it's going to develop little cracks. And this is what happened to that. You'll see those little cracks in there.
What do you say to the guy who asked you to cut up the tree and didn't tell you that there's like a beam in it or a cable in it?
What a metal detector's for, right?
That was my second big investment, is a $500 metal detector. What do I say to the guy? I said, I'm not putting it on that mill unless we get this out.
Yeah, well, usually they wouldn't know.
Exactly. And they don't know. And they hit me with that. Well, I didn't put it in there. And I say, well, I damn sure didn't put it in there.
Money for a blade. You know that up front.
Yeah.
So why would you say something?
And that's why the big mills stop taking yard trees, right? Because they can't be bothered taking shit out. They can't be bothered. So then they said, okay, they came from somebody's yard. I'm not messing with it. So the mills don't cut them. But then you don't want to just assume everything's got nails in there. So then I come, and then if I hit a nail, dude, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for it.
You like chainsaw or something?
Mm-hmm. That's a whole. If you're interested, like this, what I do is, I'll just cut a square. As I'm going over with the metal detector, I hear this beep, 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 and so I kind of figure, okay, it's right about in here. And then I'll just take the chainsaw and cut a square like that, and then I'll just take my my hatchet and a little mallet and go with the grain. If the grain's going like this, and just go bang, 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 cut it into thirds or something.
that what you do, Carl? Yeah, and then you just pull this part out, oh, there it is. Just do something like that.
How many times do you sharpen your blades before you throw it away?
Well, I send them away now. I used to do it myself. I think you can sharpen them 3 times if you don't hit a nail. If you hit a nail, you'd have to sharpen them 3 times to bring them all to a point, so it's kind of pointless.
You
No,
send them back to wood
no
miser?
fun. I send them back to wood miser.
You ever send any back and they say we can't? They inspect it and say we can't?
Yeah, I tell them automatically, give me a new one. Yeah, and that happens all the time. If I gave them back that one, well, that one broke. You know, as you can see, it almost shattered. I think it broke in a couple of different spots. And they, you know, examine it. If they see those little lines on it, they just don't even sharpen it.
And what are the lines from?
Just fatigue. Fatigue is the right word.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when you cut a cedar for me, Paul, was it a couple of years ago at Bowers Hill, you hit something and one, I think if I remember right, it was wound up being some staples, like the staple paper, but we couldn't tell because you kept hitting it, you know, and I didn't want you doing anything until you found out. You kept excavating and you got it.
A staple?
I want to say it was a staple
A
that
fit
they
staple you're talking
used
about.
to staple a sign up on the tree.
Oh, well, the metal detector I have is very sensitive.
Yes, it is.
And it'll find a staple, but it doesn't say, you know, there's no readout that says this is a very
Well, no,
small
but I
thing.
remember you excavating and we found them, we
Right.
pulled them out.
That's right, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, and I think they were just in the bark or something.
Yeah, something like
And I
that.
couldn't
But
see
I
it.
didn't want you doing anything until we got them out, because I didn't want to pay for a blade.
Right, yeah, well,
What does a blade cost now?
it's about $35, so it's not much.
Yeah, but if it takes you an hour to get it out.
Yeah, you know, you don't, who wants to be ruining equipment anyways?
Yeah.
Well, here's a couple of things that I wanted to, Gary, I was working for Gary today, and one of the things he wanted me to mention is sealing your logs off. You know, right now I'm about 5 weeks out, so if you wanted to get on the schedule, it would be, you know, in June. So what you want to do, because logs can only dry out, you know, from each end, what you want to do is seal the logs off. Does everybody know about this stuff? It's anchor seal. That's the best product in order to do that, and they sell it right here. You could use, I mean, if you didn't have the anchor seal, you could use spray paint, water-based, oil-based paint, anything. You're just trying to seal the logs off.
Then it's like water.
Yeah, well, this is wax and antifreeze and everything else. Pat was telling me a story about, he had pecan. Pecan is notorious for end checking, but he hit it with anchor seal right away, because once it opens up, it's getting more air in there, and it's gonna dry a little bit more and more. Pat says, next thing you know, you got 2 pieces. I love that.
That is true.
So, yeah, so you might as well just get it started. And that's anchor seal. This is another thing that I really like. This is a Cabot product. Which one is Cabot and which one is Bear? Home Depot and Lowe's. I can't remember who's. Okay. Well, this is a Cabot product. It's Australian timber oil, and this is a 10-year-old piece of cedar. See how? Well, I should have started with this. This is what cedar looks like after it oxidizes. Can you see that for the people at home, Terry? All right, so that's what it looks like, and everybody says, "Oh man, that looks kind of sorry." I liked it. I liked it when it was purple. I liked it that freshly, you know, that fresh color. Oh, yeah. And that's pretty much that's the product I like using to bring it back. It's not that bright purple, but like I said, that's 10 years old. That's pretty good. Australian timber oil. I don't know how much it costs, but it's probably pricey. This is something for cookies, which are really popular now. You know, you're going to take, if this is the log, you're just cutting off the ends. You don't want to cut them off too thin, because they'll dry real fast, and next thing you know, it looks like a pie with a slice taken out. But this is a product, and this is America. Everybody likes these cookies, so somebody's going to find out something to keep them in that shape. And this is also sold here, Pentacryl. And I think it's right next to Anchor Seal in the aisle. And, lastly, this is another product I really like, Wood Life. Anybody heard or seen this stuff? If you're dealing with, salt-treated lumber or pressure-treated lumber, and you cut into it, 9 times out of 10, that part that you cut, because the wood preservative is not nearly as good as it used to be. It used to be CCA, which stood for chrominated copper arsenate. Okay, and they outlawed it, which is another whole long story. So now you've got this, and this is the most foul-smelling stuff. But if you're cutting off a 2x4 or a 4x4 and you're going to stick it in the ground, you have probably put some exposed, just untreated wood into the ground. Hit it with this stuff, and do yourself a favor, use a dedicated brush for that, because it is the most foul-smelling stuff. I just wanted to see it. Anchor Seal. I wouldn't trust it. This will soak right in and protect it. If something damages, if you're sticking it in the ground and you disturb it, then you're still back to square one. What's that? Brett?
No.
Oh, I'm probably not supposed to bring this in, foreign product. But yeah, it's called Wood Life. It's an over-the-counter wood preservative.
Now, Paul, for a timber framed structure, do you have any recommendations with regards to how that wood should be sealed? The logs will be all skinned, before they become
Still
part
treat
of
the
that
ends?
structure.
I would definitely still, treat the ends. With the amount of money that you're talking about in doing a house like that, I'd get not an over-the-counter wood preservative. Because CCA is still around. You'd have to get what's called it's a pesticide. You'd have to get your pesticide license, and you have to be a licensed applicator and get some of that. Get some CCA, get some real good wood preservative.
What about for a smaller house structure?
Then I'd get this. Shed, I'd get an outhouse, I'd get this. I'd use Wood Life. That's all
The house will come pre-treated with smell.
Oh, man. Can you smell this already?
You want to mention your board foot wood calculator there?
Oh, thank you, Gary. A lot of questions I get are, how many boards am I gonna get out of this thing? So I took the liberty to print out a bunch of Doyle log scales. Thank you for reminding me of that. All you do is just measure the small end of a log. That's the only end that counts. That's the only diameter that's consistent through the log. So you measure the small end, and then on this scale, you just go over, it's 6 feet long, it's 8 feet long, 12 feet, whatever. We had one today was 30 inches, and it was 12 feet long. That's 507 board feet.
So
Anyways.
it's just for estimating 1 foot out of a log.
Correct. So this will give you the board foot of a log. It's called Doyle, D-O-Y-L-E.
What's the biggest log that you can?
40 inches. 40 inches wide, 20 feet long, and the other parameter is I can lift 4,400 pounds. And I don't expect anybody to know how much a log weighs, but if you get closer to those other two numbers, you're getting closer to the 4,400.
Oh,
Anything else? Yes, sir.
anything work for carpenter bees?
Please tell me, because this year's terrible for carpenter bees.
Carpenter bee house, right?
Yeah, carpenter bee
They
trap.
love them. I got a pile of them dead in the bottom of the jar.
Yep.
And they take you about 7 seconds to make.
Carpenter bee houses.
Yeah, the traps for the
Chunk
carpenter bees.
Pressure treated 4x4s all use, they won't rot out. You drill 4 holes, one on each side, going up at an angle, and then come in from the bottom, straight up and meet those 4 points.
Plastic
Take a
bottle on the
pickle
bottom.
jar or whatever, screw it to the bottom.
Well,
with a
what's
hole
gonna
in it.
make them go in there when they've already got my...
The hole's there.
They think it's their home.
Yeah, but if you swat one and then put it in there, it attracts me.
Yeah, I leave the dead ones in there.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to, keep talking, I want all these tips. I got a bunch of
Amazon
them.
sells, it's an adhesive cylinder, you just hang it up and they're attracted to it and they stick to it. They work, they're not great, but they work.
Took mine about 6 days to start going up.
Tennis racket.
Tennis racket, yeah, I've seen that, or badminton or
My
something.
neighbor's looking out going, that's
On
crazy.
the Carpenter Beach rafts, I like to put a little roof on it, or overhang on the roof, because they like to find areas that are dry, their entry to their homes, layers, or whatever, they like them dry, so they like the area that's underneath something like that, it helps them.
You know, there's nothing worse than a fussy carpenter bee, that's all.
Location, location, location.
I guess.
Well, it's like a condo.
Yes, Ken.
Two questions. I noticed today when you were cutting the log, on the ends, you would do kind of like a half circle with an arrow on it. What's that for?
That was me, that was, because that was a butt log and I was checking it for nails. And so when we roll them, I just took the mark and said, okay, I checked this part, and then when we roll them, I know where to leave off.
All right. And when you're cranking the log up there onto your sawmill, how do you figure out how you want to orient it for your first cut?
Another good question. And Carl can probably, weigh in on this too. If I try to put the biggest knot at the corner of a cant. Once you've squared off a log, that's called a cant. And you've seen me with a cant hook. A cant hook isn't a contraction. It's not cannot, it's cant, C-A-N-T. That's what this is called. So if I've got a big knot, a big branch on this log, I try to put it at one of the four corners, either 130, 1030, 730, 430. So as I come in, that knot will disappear. That's my strategy there. And if you got a butt log with no, like you had, with that was all clear, just have at it. And then, but there's, once we're going down that road, I mean, there's lots of different things. There's cutting banana-shaped logs. If I've got one that's like that, and that walnut job that we were doing had a bunch of them that were kind of curved like that, I call banana shape. I would rather cut, or I would rather produce boards that go like this than like this. It's easier to straighten that out, because they'll come off the mill pretty flat, but they'll want to go like this. They'll want to dry like that. And as long as you keep weight on them, you'll keep them flat. Kind of hard to keep this one straight. You understand? Because they're going sideways. What's preventing it? So I will turn it if it's going like this, and I'll try to give you
curved side.
What? A curved side?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Interesting side story about your damaging blades. There's an island in northwest Florida, St. George Island. It's off the coast of Apalachicola near St. Joe. And they were going to clear that back in the 70s. They're developing a lot of virgin pine and timber on it. Logging company came in there and immediately started tearing up equipment. And an old timer finally wandered over and said, the Air Force used this for strafing practice. Right?
Oh, man.
So there's a virgin forest that's going to stand forever.
No kidding.
It's backed up a lot. Yeah.
No kidding. Well, so the bullets are lead, but they're copper jacketed or something else, because I can fly right through lead. If it's just lead, it just goes right through it. Aluminum, yeah, pretty much. But once you start putting other metals in, and we were talking about the metal detector, I just set the metal, it's got all these different settings on it. I just set it to all metal. They got settings on there that'll, eliminate. I haven't found the first gold coin in a tree yet. Just saying. So, ever hopeful. What's that?
Ever hopeful.
Ever hopeful. Why would somebody do that?
What's the hardest wood you've ever cut?
Greenheart. Greenheart is grown in South America, but they last they're just impervious to any kind of decay, so they would make them into pilings. And they've wandered, you know, to this area, and I've cut them up that way. Now, native, just regular trees, native to this area, gotta be live orange. Well, Osage orange is hard, but live oak is a killer, and so heavy. 76 pounds a cubic foot, thank you very much, which means it sinks.
Anybody have you cut a dead tree? A dry tree?
Sure.
Harder to cut?
It is. Why is it harder to cut?
Yeah. Because there's no
lubrication?
Yeah.
Yes.
No water in it.
Right. For the same reason these boards are so damn heavy. The water hasn't come out of the sponge yet.
Yeah, they're more dense.
And when they're dense, you know, yeah, they're really hard. Black walnut, hard. Years ago, there was this guy that gave me some black walnut that had been dead or dried for like 3 years. Oh my gosh, you know, cutting in to each end was a killer. So finally I said, look, this is what we're gonna do. It's already end checked to beat the band anyways. I just took out my chainsaw. We're gonna cut 2 feet off here and 2 feet off here. And then we're gonna resume. And it went a whole lot better.
Throw it in the pond, call me in 6 months.
That's right. And that's what a lot of sawmills will do. Is as they're stacking them up, they're not gonna use this for 1,000 logs. They'll just put a sprinkler on the top of the uppermost log and just wet everything.
You have much pecan around here?
Mm-hmm. I cut up a lot of pecan. I cut a pecan and pecan.
Coming from Texas, it's pecan.
It's pecan, okay?
There are pecans around here.
And that's one of the 2 kinds of hickories. A pecan is a hickory. There's true hickories and pecan hickories. Yep. And you can see the difference because of if you had 2 logs the same size, pecans are mostly sapwood. If you look at you know, if this is the log, you know, the heartwood of a pecan would be about this big. In a true hickory, it'd be about this big.
Do you ever do any floating of epoxy, like for countertops and stuff, to fill in the missing heartwood of the boards that you cut up, and then
What do you mean? Am I cutting some of that?
The people that you cut the logs for, do they do any of the epoxy?
You mean like river tables and that? Oh, sure. Greg's got an example of that. And it's
cool. I want to see that process.
It's interesting because, and I was talking about this earlier, the stuff that we used to throw away when I first started this building, they love that now. They love that. And you know, they want these really wide boards, and I tell them, you know, if I give you these really wide boards, but remember, this is a green log, it's gonna want a cup. They don't care. It's just character.
Yeah, tables and countertops and.
Yeah, bar tops and tabletops with all these wineries and breweries.
Yeah.
I've cut for O'Connor's, I've cut for Farmhouse. I'm getting ready to cut, there's something, Reaver Beach or something like that. Yeah. They had like there were two locations. One was an old post office in Norfolk, and then there's another one down like Virginia Beach anyways. But that's all I want is just rustic slabs as wide as I can cut them. And they'll probably cup, but beer sliding off and stuff. Yeah, really.
It's like rails. Yeah.
Paul, how thick are they normally cut?
A lot of times 2 inches. 2 inches thick. And very seldom, sometimes they'll finish them, sometimes they don't, just leave them rough cut. Try to get they like the bark on them. And they're mad when the bark doesn't stay on them. That's all I got. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, Paul, thank you very much.
Okay, everybody. Like I said, I printed out, if you're interested in the Doyle log scale, there's a whole bunch of those there.
Hopefully, I'm gonna take one of them.
I'll get this later, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yep. And if you can't read them because it's too small, you could probably just download it off the internet.
Okay, again, Paul, thank you very much for your expertise, and those of you that are just joining us, you can see just some of the expertise that's in this group.
Yes.
A lot of experience in a lot of different realms. Now, the last thing we've got here is the raffle. Chris, and while Chris is bringing this up here and working on this, we have, let's see, Scott, Ron, Quentin, and Terry. Thank you very much for joining us virtually. And by the way, we decided as a board, we're going to continue going virtual. We got the Zoom, so we're going to continue doing that for people that cannot make it in here. We'll continue it as long as we need to. So just wanted to welcome them together. Close, okay?
There you go. 677.
You went home.
Last three, 677.
Congrats. Thank you.
Came over to me.
That's good. All right. 3 turning books. All right. 6, 7, 8.
I got a trend going.
Thank you.
Yeah.
6, 7, 9 comes up, we're fixed out the random.
Everybody gets $10,000 bonus.
Uh, 6, 8, 5. Who's got it? All right. Thank you.
Is it for this stuff here?
Yeah, it's all 3 of those.
Who wants to draw? Oh, there you go. You can. Oh, good one.
Okay.
6, 7. 6, 7, 9.
7, 9.
You gonna need an extra hand to carry this out?
Hey, welcome to the guild.
Okay. That it over there, Chris?
It's 50. Collected $11, so the guild member gets $6.
No, you can get all your money back.
Yeah, it's great.
Come up with 680 and 671.
Oh.
Look
Look at that, all the way around.
That was good.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, sure.
Okay, and for those that brought something in, thank you very much. We will continue to ask for anything you can bring in that can be part of the raffle. It does give us a little bit of money, plus we can do the 50-50 and might be able to earn a little something else. Stay tuned. I was just looking at the list. When we put out the information on the chimney tower, there were 10 people that responded saying that they'd be interested in it. If anyone else is going to be interested in it, my email address is always on every one of my notes. And I do need to let you know the reason it was late this year, or this past week, I had to go and get with the expert, Gary. My computer did an update and I could not even get into it, so to send anything out. So Gary had to walk me through it.
That's a poor excuse.
Well, hey, whatever. I'm just sticking to it. But if anyone is interested in it, I always put my email address down at the bottom below my name. So if you're interested in it, just email me and I'll put it in there. As soon as I get more information on this and we can get the delivery pad, I'll be in touch with you and give you a call. So we'll do that. I think that would be something that would put the guild out in front of people. And one thing I am going to say, when I took over as president, as you recall, I was in this position for 2 months, and then COVID hit. And now it's into my, really the beginning of the second year, middle of the second year, and I've only got about 6 more months. Jim told me.
We can extend it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, that's not where I'm going. Jim gave me the information on getting a business card. And I think you had to order like 500 or 1,000 of them or something like that, so I put them out here. By the way, I've still got most of them over here. If any of you are interested in a card and you wanted to give it to someone, that may be interested, I've got plenty to give away. So if anybody wants one, I've got it in my box over here. I'll be glad to give it to you. Okay, last thing I've got, anything else for the Guild? Stay tuned. We'll be getting back in touch with you about possibly a field trip, tour, whatever it is. And we'll continue to go. Anyone that you see that's a member of the Guild that has not been here, probably coming back, because you can see the camaraderie is back. It really is. And it's a good thing, because that was a long 2 years.
Right.
It was for me. Yes, sir.
Has anybody gone up to Warrenton and for that wood sale up there?
I haven't heard of
This-
What?
That was
Oh, is that
the,
the one that Jim?
That was the email that went out a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago.
When is it?
It's by appointment.
By appointment?
Yeah, there'll be details coming out here probably mid-May timeframe, something like that.
So he was kind of asking for a point of contact or encouraging that, I think, from different memberships, right?
Yep.
Did anybody?
So you never,
Yeah,
so you're looking for a volunteer?
You're gonna?
Yeah, I responded
That
to
was my question, yeah.
And so I'll pass on whatever he sends out.
Is it a show or what is it?
It's,
No, it's a lumber sale.
like 4 or 5, or actually, wood. Yeah, it's a lot of wood.
A lot of wood and exotic, they're not selling it at bargain price, I mean, like basement bargain prices, but it sounded like it was gonna be a fair price.
And there's some wide boards.
Wide and exotic,
And these are all in containers.
right, they're shipping containers, just stacked up.
What kind of quantities, do you know what kind of quantities that you have to buy? or minimum?
That hasn't been determined yet.
Okay.
It sounded like any amount.
But Jim, as you find out something else about that, you'll keep us posted. Okay.
I got one more.
Yes, sir.
I forgot about this. I thought he was gonna come tonight, but, I was at a garage sale this weekend where guy was selling some stuff, and one of the things was a Shipoko 4XL. He put the kit together, it's only been like a year. He put the kit together, it was functioning, he didn't cut anything.
What is it?
It's a CNC.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
About a 30-inch square work area. So if anybody was thinking about getting into CNC routers, to me, that's a pretty good starting price for a
What was selling for?
1,800. So
26.
yeah.
Tooling?
What's that?
Any tooling with it?
It's just little 1/4-inch end mill. It runs on a palm router, and there was actually a second palm router that came with it. There was a story behind it. I think they were getting some complaints with that model, and so they ended up sending them free a replacement. But he said he hadn't had any problems with it. So there's a startup pain associated with these things that you got to get over, but as far as an entry level, that if you bought it today as a kit would probably be well over $2,000, probably 2,500.
25 for the XL, like 32 for the Pro. When I was
Yep. So this, I think, from what I could tell, this was probably an XL.
Where is it?
Pocosin. He's moving, and so he's just trying to downsize, and he either has to store it. He'll store it if he can't get the 1,800, or he's gonna, find a good home.
You got a number?
I can put you in contact if you're interested. Okay. It was just I saw it, and I was trying to find friends that might be interested, and so far nobody had bid. So I thought I'd say something because several people had said, Count on needing about a 4x4 area. Oh, he does have an 8x4 table he built to put it on. And so that's a pretty good setup for that, but anyways.
Has anybody ever been to the IWF, International Woodworkers Fair?
Yeah.
In Atlanta? It's an August.
Big show.
It's a big show, yeah.
They have that
Heard
one
about it, never been there.
Every other year it switches. Every year.
Okay, well, again, thank you very much, Terry. Thank you for your continued support with the audiovisual part of this. And stay tuned. We'll be back in touch with you about the different projects that we got going on. Okay, Paul, again, thank you very much for what you did. Okay, have a good one, guys.
Hey, we can grab the chair and bring it this way. Chair's down. Oh, you gonna do yours?
Yeah.
Good to see you again, too. I got a question. I want to